Hey everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty and on today's video we're going to be doing a comprehensive breakdown of every single series that I've started since I launched my Booktube back in 2019. There's two people who I've seen do this video. There's Bookroast, who is the creator of the spreadsheet that I have used to do this tracking. And then as I was getting ready to film this, I saw that Mel from a book fiend named Mel has also done this. So it's quite cool. And I have over 100. I have counted. There are 130 series in total that I have at least started since, and very few of these have been completed. So what we're going to do, I don't want to end up with over 100 series still to read. So what we are going to do is I will tell you the series, I will tell you how much of it I've read, I will then tell you if it is completed, if I'm going to DNF it, or if I'm going to continue it. Let's get on. First up we have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerry Maniscalco. I have read the first two books and I have no intention really of continuing it, so I'm going to make that the very first DNF. Secondly, we have Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. I read the first book, I've just never gotten around to getting any of the other books in the series, but I do occasionally think of it, and I remember that I did really enjoy it. I know I gave it 4, if not 4.5 stars, so it was a good read. I had a fun time with it, and I think I do want to continue it. It's just a case of when I'm going to get a hold of it. So I'm going to keep that one as a currently ongoing series for now. Next up we have Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nyan. I actually have the final book right here, Girls of Fate and Fury. This is the final book. It's the only one I have left to read and I'm scared, but I know I'm going to read it. So this is ongoing and I am aiming to get to by the end of this year. We then have Fever by Karen Marie Moaning. If I just look at the first 5 books, I've completed it about 4 times. If we look at the entire series in the sort of like season 2 kind of bit, then I am on book 6 out of 13. So I've got a bit of catching up to do, but absolutely I will continue with that. Next up we have All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody. I have that one right here. And I also have the second book that was sent to me very kindly as an ARC from NetGalley. I kind of don't want to read it, but because I own it, I really should. So I'm not going to DNF, I will continue it. It's just a case of probably at some point in the future. Then we have the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden. This is one that I am intrigued by. I do want to continue, but I'm not sure if I actually want to continue it. So I will need to reread the first book in order to determine, but for now I'll mark it as ongoing. Next up we have one that's going to be a little bit controversial, I think, and might hurt people a little bit. But we have Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I've read the first book 3 times and I adore it every single time. Book 2 I didn't enjoy very much. Book 3 I was bored shitless. So I have decided I'm DNFing that series. We then have The Beholder by Anna Bright. This is another one I initially went, I'm going to DNF. But when I think about it, I think it was my first ever fairy loot because the second one was Sorcery of Thorns. And I can still remember so much of it and I shouldn't be able to remember that much. So I am considering trying the first book again and determining. So for that one, I will leave it as ongoing. Then it's Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I didn't like Legendborn a lot the first time. I absolutely loved it the second time I read it. And yeah, that absolutely will stay ongoing. Next up we have Kitty Norville by Carrie Vaughan. Honestly, I have no recollection of ever reading Kitty in the Midnight Hour, but I must have done because I've listed it as one that I've read. So I want to go back, I want to read the first one, but I've got an instinct that I will end up DNFing, but I don't want to mark it as DNF just yet, so that one I will continue. Then we have the Septimus Heap series by Angie Sage. I read the first one, it wasn't memorable, I don't remember a thing about it other than it was a boy called Septimus Heap. I think that's enough said. DNF, move on with my life. Then we have Penryn and the End of Days, which starts with Angelfall by Susan E. This one will be like my 3rd reread. So that is actually my first of the finished series that we've approached so far in this video. Next up we have The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I completed this last year, absolutely loved it. Then we have Fable by Adrienne Young. I have read both of these and I really now want to get the standalone of Saint because I think that's going to be amazing. Then we have The Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas. Book 1 only came out last year, book 2's not yet even been announced, but I will absolutely be continuing it, so ongoing. Next up we have Need by Carrie Jones, this book about fairies and fae, and this was one of the very first sort of fantasy YAs that I read. It was fantastic, it stuck with me, and I have completed it. Next up we have The Elder Races by Thea Harrison, which starts with Dragonbound. I know I've read up to about book 6 in this series, and I have barely any memory, so I'm keeping this as an ongoing because I want to go back and reread it and see if I want to continue. Similarly with Cara Gillian by Diana Rowland. Starts with Mark of the Demon. All I remember is that she summons a demon and the very first thing that happens is they end up having sex. So I want to go back and reread it and see if it's as good this time. Next up we have another one that might go ouch to a few people, and that is The Discworld by Terry Pratchett. You do not know how much I wish I loved this series, because I wish I did. I can see why people love it and I can see why people are so passionate about it. And I just can't get on with it. So I've decided, after rereading the 3 Witches novels last year, and I've read a couple of others, I'm just not interested. Next up we have the Anita Blake series. This is a vampire. She's a vampire hunter person, detective thing. I've read the first 4 or 5 books. There are now 29 books in the series. So I'm keeping it as ongoing, but it might be ongoing for a few years yet. Then we have The Witches of Doyle by Kirsten Weiss. I remember reading it. I don't know anything about it other than there was something to do with her and the love interest went for a walk in the forest. That's all I can remember. So yeah, I have no interest in continuing, so that one is a DNF. Then we have another DNF, which was The Iscari by Kristin Cicciarelli. This is a dragon novel, so probably why I didn't get on with it, because I'm not a big fan of dragons. I didn't like the writing, I didn't like the setup, and it just felt really not great to me. Another DNF is The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. I love the games, I love the show. I just couldn't get into the books, unfortunately. One that I have completed multiple times. It's my all-time favourite series. Say it with me, 1, 2, 3. Psy Changeling, Nalini Singh. I'm breaking this into the 2 arcs. So we've got Psy Changeling and then Psy Changeling Trinity. So Psy Changeling I have completed. Psy Changeling Trilogy is ongoing. So yep, that one is ongoing. So 1 complete, 1 ongoing. Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I read the first one, didn't really enjoy it. I felt the movie was far more nostalgic, far more beautiful to me, and I just, after growing up on the Ghibli, going back and then reading the original book, I hated it, so I'm not going to continue, and that is DNF. Then we have Relentless by Karen Lynch, which is another one from way back in 2019, where I binge read the first 3 and loved them. They were all 5 stars for me, and they had really unique takes on demons and mythology, and then I just stopped reading them. And I haven't gone back. So I need to reread, but I definitely want to continue. Then we have The Chronicles of Alice by Christina Henry. We all know I adored Alice. I hated Red Queen, and then I really enjoyed Through the Looking Glass, and I have completed all those. The next one is a DNF, and that is Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. I've heard a lot of things that make me intrigued about Warner, but I don't really care about the angst of the other dude, whose name I can't even remember, Adam or something. And Juliet really annoyed me and I hated her, so DNF. Ink by Alice Broadway, again just a very another generic fantasy that kind of just blurred into forgetfulness for me. It had an intriguing premise but just didn't catch me, so DNF. One that I thought I DNF'd but I've since changed my mind and I'm going to go back and restart is Spellslinger from Sebastian de Castell. So that one is ongoing and I'm going to reread it, and I now own the first book again. It's just here behind me, I can't be bothered to get it out. Another one is Gumiho, which is also called Wicked Fox in the English title, and the sequel which I own. So I can get that one finished now and I will, so that one is ongoing. Another ongoing one, all I have left to read now is Queen of Vaults, which is this one here that is both big and scary and emotional and scary, and that is by Amanda Foody. So all I have left is the final book, and yeah, I'm scared. Then we have Dark Shades of Magic, V.E. Schwab. I've read this, I've loved it, and I am overdue a reread of this. Next up we have the Folk of the Air series, so The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I have DNF'd this. I didn't really enjoy The Cruel Prince, and The Wicked King bored the hell out of me, so I gave up. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Alani Taylor. This is another one that really hurts me to say, but I have DNF'd this because it brought in the resurrection trope and I absolutely cannot stand the resurrection trope, and I felt it just destroyed all of the character development and the relationships that had been built so far, and it's just not my cup of tea, which is a shame because I was adoring this book up until that point. So that one is a DNF. We then have Black Butler, which is a manga series that I absolutely love. I have no intentions of stopping. It's one of my all-time favourite series. It's one of my all-time favourite animes. It's a fantastic series. I will continue. Next up we have The Monsters of Verity by V. Schwab, which starts with Our Dark Duet. No, This Savage Song. It ends with Our Dark Duet. Literally, I'm sure I finished it, but I don't remember finishing it, but I have no intention of going back, so I'm marking it as a DNF. Next up we have another Nalini Singh, which is the Guild Hunter series, and I don't talk about it anywhere near as much as I do the Psy Changeling, and I do apologise for that, but I do still absolutely love this series. That is definitely still ongoing, and I do intend on continuing. Shadow and Bone, Lee Bardugo, DNF'd. Read the first book, didn't enjoy it. DNF the second book, have no intention of going back. Caravel by Stephanie Garber, I completed. I thought it was okay. Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin, I bought the second book, read the first 3 chapters, got bored, gave up, haven't gone back, so that is a DNF. The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna, I didn't enjoy it, so DNF. Next up we have Heartstopper by Alice Oseman, definitely ongoing, definitely going to continue with that. I absolutely love it and I follow it on Webtoons. Then we have Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez that I've decided right in this second I'm going to DNF because I've just done a reread of the first book, and as much as I do enjoy the first book, I have no interest in continuing, and I don't really want to follow the other person's, Catalina's story, so no. Then we have The Good Luck Girls by Charlotte Nicole Davis. Read the first book, had no interest in reading the second one. Cursebreakers, Bridget Kemmerer, I have DNF'd. I read the first one, thought it was okay, didn't like the second one, decided to DNF the third. The Confectioner's Guild by Claire Luna is actually one that I finished. Once Future is a graphic novel series by Kieran Gillen following King Arthur legends, and it's ongoing. I will continue it. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue it for long, but at the moment it's a continue. Then we have Simon Snow by Rainbow Rowell. I have completed it, but it was trash by the end. Then we have The Midnight Lie by Mary Rukotsky. I wanted to love this book, but again, I just felt it really hit with me and I just got a bit bored, so I'm not going to continue. Havenfall by Sarah Holland, I do want to go back and reread because I did enjoy it, and I definitely do want to continue on to the second book. Daughter of the Pirate Queen, I'm currently re-listening to the audio of the first book so that I can go on to the second one because I do want to finish that one. The Watchmaker of Filigree Street by Natasha Pulley, I absolutely hated. DNF. Next up, Winter Song by Estee Jones, very loosely based off The Labyrinth, and I was really invested until the last quarter of the book where it all just went too weird and wonderful and strayed away from the idea of the labyrinth with the Goblin King and all of that, and then just became a generic romance that I hated, so I won't be continuing. I have DNF'd. Then we have The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owens. I've listened to both of the books on audio and I love that series, so that is complete. Then we have The Holocrown by Zoraida Cordova. I've read the first one. I have not yet read the second one, but I do want to go back and try it again because I think I will enjoy it. Then we have King Fountain by Jeff Wheeler. I don't remember enough about this book to make a judgment. I just know that I have no interest in continuing, so that is a DNF. Then we have 10 Count by Rahito Takurai, and I will for now keep that as a ongoing. Then we have Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. I have completed this one and I absolutely loved it. Villains by V. Schwab, I have completed. Technically it's ongoing because there is going to be a third book, even though we know nothing about it, but there will be a third book apparently. So I'll keep that as ongoing, even though I have completed both the books that are already out. Then we have the My Hero Academia manga, which we all know I love and adore. I'm currently on volume 35 out of 37. I don't think there's any chance I'm stopping that anytime soon. Next up we have Shadow Spell Academy by KF Breen and Shannon Mayer. I read the first one, don't really want to continue, so I've DNF'd. Then we have Saga by Brian K. Vaughan, and I absolutely want to continue this, so I'm marking that as ongoing. Then we have the manga of the novel Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Originally I really wanted to continue this, but I have since decided I'm going to DNF it. Next up we have Southern Gothic by Megan Cube. It read as a Destiel from Supernatural, like Dean and Castiel. It read as like a fan fiction for that, and it was really uncomfortable for me. I don't want to continue. I'm good. DNF, thank you. Kingdom of the Wicked, Kerry Maniscalco. Originally I really wanted to continue this, but after hearing about how it goes and seeing reviews, I've decided I think it's better if I just DNF, and that I think Kerry Maniscalco is an author who I love her first books, but I don't necessarily want to continue them. Crescent City by Sarah J Maas, reluctantly I'm going to continue that, but the third book, if it's not good, I'm out. Then we have My Brother's Husband by Gengoro Tagame, which is about homosexuality in Japan, and I absolutely want to continue this, so continue. Another graphic novel is Lumberjanes by N.D. Stevenson, and I've decided to DNF this because it was just wacky and crazy, but not in a good way for me. Same with These Violent Delights. I really wanted to love this duology, but I found that it just kind of became very confusing and hard to follow, so I've decided to DNF. Next up we have Cemetery Boys, that originally was standalone and has since there's been an announcement that it will have a sequel, so ongoing. Then we have Murder and Magic by Nicole Glover, which starts off with The Conductors, which I absolutely loved. It had an amazing magic system that revolved around star signs and astrology, so I definitely want to continue that. It's just a case of when am I going to get it. We then have Once Upon a Con by Ashley Poston. I have read Geekerella, I have the second book over here, and the third book is on the bottom shelf, so I have the series, I will continue. Then we have Fables by Bill Willingham, which I have decided to DNF. Then we have one of my favourites from when I was younger, which was Samurai Deeper Kyo. I didn't get around to finishing it back then, so I am currently finishing it now, and I am currently on volume 27 out of 38. I love, and I will definitely continue. Then we have Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy, and absolutely loving it. I'm on book 5, definitely want to continue, will do so, but now I want my nephew to catch up and we can buddy read it together. Then we have The Aunties by Jessie Kusutanto, which is Dial A for Aunties and then the sequel, and it was again chaotic and crazy in the worst possible ways. DNF. Boys Run the Riot by Keito Gaku is about being transgender in Japanese society. Definitely want to continue that. We have The Nightmareverse by L.L. McKinney, which I read the first book. The second book is on my shelf behind me. Unfortunately, the third book has had a huge delay in being published, so I don't yet own, but I will continue. The Brown Sisters by Talia Hibbert, which I have completed, loved, and I'm thinking about rereading this year. Captive Prince by C.S. Bacat. I started that in January. I quite enjoyed it. I definitely want to continue. Meet Me by Georgia Tofolo, I did not enjoy at all. I gave it like 2 or 2.5 stars, and I have absolutely zero intention of continuing. Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas, I actually started with the sequel without realising it. So I now own the first one. It's just up there in that little TBR, in this month's TBR box. And yeah, I will get around to that, and I am going to continue. And we have Perfect World by Rie Aruga. This is looking at what it is to be disabled in an ableist society, especially in a Japanese society. And I loved the first book, absolutely cannot wait to continue. Midnight's Twins by Holly Race, I now own all 3 and absolutely continuing that because it was incredible. Spy Family is becoming one of my all-time favourite series. I love it. I'm on volume 7 of 11, I think. And yeah, I have no intention of stopping. And we have The Death Touched York by Rosie Talbot. We haven't yet got a release date or even a title for the second book, but there will be a second book, and I adored the first book, so absolutely going to continue. Spectacle by Jodie Ling's Drock. I did enjoy the first book, but I am going to DNF the series because thinking about it, nah. It was good, but not good enough to make me want to go back and complete it. Poison Study by Maria V. Schneider. I absolutely blasted through the first one, and I own book 3 and 5. I just kind of pick them up in charity shops when I see them. And yeah, I am definitely going to continue. Then we have Die by Kieran Gillen. Not sure if I do want to continue, but I'm intrigued enough I at least want to get the next volume and then I'll decide. The Bromance Book Club. The first book was great. Do I have any interest in continuing it? Not really, so DNF. Mao Volume 1. Really enjoyed. Gave me Inuyasha vibes, which, you know, being as it's from the same author, not surprising. Want to continue. The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, I have DNF. Laura Olympus by Rachel Smythe, I definitely want to continue. I follow that on Webtoons, absolutely love it. Flying Witch by Chihiro Ishizuka, I am not continuing. I've decided to DNF. Ten Dance by Sato Inoue, again DNF'd. Very confusing, hard to follow, didn't care. Monsters by Vanessa Len, absolutely continuing, can't wait. Everlast by Sarah Holland, I own the sequel, so I will be finishing that this year. Greatcoats by Sebastian de Castell. I only have the last book to go and I am terrified to read it, but I'm also desperate to read it. Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. Hated it, 2 stars, do not have any intention of continuing. Fence by C.S. Pacat, really enjoyed the first volume, can't wait to continue it. Wilder Wood by Hannah Witten. This is the final book here for the throne. I do need to buy For the Wolf again though in order to remember what the hell was going on to then go on to For the Throne. A Man and His Cat by Umi Sakurai, one of the most wholesome things you will ever read in your life. Please go read it, absolutely continuing. Monstrous by Marjorie Liu. On the fence about this one because while I like the art style and I'm loving some of the characters, the storyline itself is very confusing, hard to follow and a bit out of sync, so I'm not sure yet, but at the moment I'll stick it as ongoing. The Cracked Coffins by Veronica Kerez. Absolutely hated this book, it was vile in my opinion. DNF. These Hollow Vows, Lexi Ryan. Again, the second book is just there, I'm absolutely desperate to get to it. Can continue. Plenty Prisoner. Do I need to say how much I love this series and do I have any intention of ever stopping? No. Then we have The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. Book 2 is there, halfway finished, and I don't yet own book 3, but I have full intentions of continuing. Married to Magic by Elise Cover. I will give the second book a go, and then if I don't enjoy that one, I will DNF. Promised Neverland by Kawi Shirai. I have DNF'd. And then finally we have The Prison Healer by Lynette Nunny. I have read the first one, I own the second one somewhere. Yeah, I own the second one and I think I own the third one, or I know I can get it. So yeah, I'll see how I get on with the second one before I decide, but I'm not sure yet if that is one that I do want to finish. So that was one hell of a list. But we made it, we're here at the end. And from that, as I've been doing, that initial list, I realised even though I'd said 130, some of those were on multiple lines, so it actually would have been around about 120 series. Of those, I have now DNF'd 40, so that means that I have completed 13, which is terrible, and I still have 67 series to continue. Yeah. So I've got a lot of reading, but there will be a follow-up video to this very soon where I'm going to break down all of the series that I own all of the books to, and I think there's about 14 or 15 on that list, so if I can get all of those done this year, that will help bring that number way down. But anyway, let me know if there are any series that you are waiting on. Do you know your exact number? If you know how many ongoing you've got, let me know. And yeah. I'm gonna go and take a drink now because that was a lot of talking. I hope you're all good, I hope you're staying safe, and until next time, bye!